Hey everyone, LordDavon again, and today I am bringing you the ESCO E2 tank. It's also known as the Apollo tank, and it's also known as the rocket tank. So, the ESCO E2, which we'll call the Apollo because, well, I like the name, and this one came courtesy of Discount Vapors, um, is a CE2 or E2 style tank system. Basically, is a cartomizer sit in the middle of a lot of juice. This one is 5.5 ml and looks like the Space Needle, so I'm going to call it the Space Needle. You should too. Um, but it is it is a variation of my favorite cartomizer, and if anybody follows me out there, if anybody at all, I love the E1, and most people know. I rant and rave about the E1. I talk about it on my live show. Here comes the shameless plug, which is on Sundays between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on the Total Vaping Network. So, love to see you guys there. Anyway, so the E2 is an E2 style tank. Being that it's the variation of the E1, and that's my favorite cartomizer, I have a lot of high expectations when I hear that they have released it in a tank style. So this thing could have very easily received a bad review, but it's not going to because I like it. And I'll explain why I like it throughout this review. Alright, so first reason. Now this is a 50-50 Boba's Bounty, and it tastes really well. Now, as with most E2s, it does have a slightly muted flavor. You're not going to get the same thing as dripping in any type of cartomizer, but the E2s always have a slightly muted flavor. But the E2 does have a better flavor than most E2 styles. It really does. It is a good flavor. It's actually a great flavor as far as cartomizers go, which is why I love the E1 so much. So, on a 50-50 juice, I'm not getting a lot of dry hits. I'm not getting any dry hits. But when I will get a dry hit will be when this thing hits about 2/3 of the way down. You do have to top off E2 cartomizers. You just do. Or you got to sit there like this. You know, but that's okay. That's something I accept, and it's 5.5 ml. It's larger than most cartomizers, so it or tanks. So it does allow you a lot of vaping before you have to top off. So the basic makeup is, and one of the cool factors is, you can use any drip tip you want. I've got this guy on here, and on this one I have this guy. This is a drip tip. It's a steel drip tip or metal drip tip that you can also get at Discount Vapors, and it just makes it look really cool. It just does. So, deal. Okay, so you can take the drip tip off, or you can leave it on. And for the sake of the review, I'm going to leave it on because it makes it easier for me to remove the top. The top unscrews, and you just place that down. It's just a standard little top. On the inside, it has the top of the cartomizer. That's the cap. And it's got the little metal piece so the juice doesn't drip all the way down when you're squeezing it in. It doesn't go into the center. So, and it's got a lot of gappage, so you can really just pour a lot of juice in without worrying of it. You don't need a needle to fill or anything like that. If you unscrew the tank, and it is a metal tank with a plasticky window, it's lived up to all the juices I use, but I don't know if it's going to live up to yours. I don't know what you use, so more subscribers, thank you. It has a replaceable innard, which and of course it has this little top wick piece that's there. I pull the silica cup cap off, and I pull that wick when I use it. I haven't found a benefit of it. It may benefit something for you, but I pull it off. The innard unscrews, which is unlike the E1 and the E3, which just push on. This one actually unscrews. And then you've got a base, and the base has a 510 threaded innard, and not skirt threaded, but it does have the Ego skirt. So it looks pretty decent on an Ego battery. You just screw your innard in, tighten that up, and I want to explain this real quick. Now this can be rebuildable. This has a positive wire that goes all the way up to the top, and then is soldered to the coil that's on this bugger. You can clip it off at the solder ball, the little ball joint that's in there holding the wire to the coil. And then what you do is you strip off the casing at the very end, and once you've got the wire stripped there just a little bit, there's a silica seal that goes around the inside here with a metal pin that goes through, outside pin with air tube through it. If you stick that positive pin inside the silica cap, or the silica seal on the inside, and you push the pin into it, it'll hold that there, and the positive wire will charge that pin. So all you have to do is take your wick, coil it, you push your positive end on the inside of that little metal tube, it just touches it and it's fired up, and you take your negative end and you just stuff it underneath this little silica cap, and it's really easy to do once you've got it all charged. Getting that wire in there can be a little tricky. I did break one last weekend when I was trying to show people live. I will be doing it again this weekend between 6 and 8 p.m. Eastern at totalvapingnetwork.com. So I will be showing people how to do this. So if you want to know how to rebuild this, stop by the show. But for the sake of time, that's all I'm going to go over with it for this review. So once you have it back on and you pull that little piece out of the top, all you really have to do is put your little tube back on and screw it into place, fill, and then put your top back on. And that's it. It's fairly simple. It works really well. It looks really cool. Some people are going to be taken, back by the look, but I do like the looks of this. So the E2 works really well. Looks pretty good. It's got a good flavor. It's a good tank, and you can make it rebuildable. So it's only $12.99 over at Discount Vapors. As well, the innards, the replacement insides for it, are only $2.89 each. So you can play around with them all you want, and they're really easy to pull out, put a new one on, and put the whole thing back together again. But it doesn't have the same replaceable innard as the E1 or the E3, which is the, Stardust looking E1. It doesn't have the same inside. Now, because of that, you will have to, if you're a fan of the E1 like I am, have to stock both the insides for the E1 and for the E2. And that's, that's regrettable, but it's not a showstopper by any means. So it works. It works well. It does have the replaceable innard. So the question I've been asked a lot in the shows that I do or throughout the forums is, how does it compare to the VV Nova? And I don't think you can do a cross comparison. I mean, they're two different style tanks. It does have metal tube with a plastic window, whereas with the VV Nova you get either metal or plastic. You don't get the best of both worlds, so that is a plus for the Apollo. Now the VV Nova as well has a few revisions, which makes it a little bit confusing. But the latest revision, which is the 2.5, I have not used yet, so I can't compare it. This is the revision 2, and this one also provides good flavor and vapor. But this one has an edge over it with flavor. So I do think I like the Apollo more than I do the VV, but I haven't tried, of course, the 2.5 yet to let you know how it fares against that one. That being said, you can't go wrong with either, but The Apollo is just it's a solid tank system. It works really well. It's well-rounded. So if you got the funds, try them both. Play around with rebuilding them both. The replacement insides between the two are roughly about the same price. And, you know, actually I think these are a little bit more expensive. But the Apollo is a good tank. It is a really good tank, and I like it a lot. It really could have, you know, because it's coming from the manufacturer of my E1s, it really could have been a bad review if this thing was even slightly bad, because I had high hopes and high expectations, but it has lived up to those expectations. So I really do like the Apollo tank. Again, it's a good tank. You can use any drip tip, make it look as funky as you want. And this same drip tip, I can't use it on the VV. So, you know, gets a little edge there as well. Again, from Discount Vapors, they call it the Apollo tank. It's made by ESCO. It is the E2 tank from them. Other places sell it as the Rocket tank. It is a good tank, easy to replace the parts, inexpensive. I like it, and I think you will too. So if you want to try it out, give it a shot. All right, so that being said, this is LordDavon. Let them know I sent you. Base has just a larger size replaceable innard. Ooh, that doesn't come out. Oh crap.